Surviving cancer helped me understand death. It showed me a part of life that most people ignore, that most people don't even think about until later down in their life. And they never imagine it happening to them as a young person or as a child. And the truth is, reality didn't hit me when I was diagnosed. Was it scary, uncertain, strange? Yes, it was, but it didn't help me understand death right away. A year into chemo is actually when it happened. You see, you start getting accustomed to the life that you're living now. You're basically living in the hospital, and you get so accustomed and used to the children around you that they become your friends and somewhat of a family. When the first child lost their battle, it started to become apparent just how serious this thing is. Before you could even start processing the death of the first child, another one died. And then another one. And then another one again. And before you could start to try to build reasoning and understanding, your mind starts building a shell to protect you from feeling the feelings that you're supposed to feel in order for you to keep on fighting the battle to win. So basically you start building mechanisms to cope rather than building mechanisms to understand. A couple months before my 16th birthday, my best friend, who was also diagnosed with cancer around the same time as she lost her battle. And initially I didn't react. The coping mechanisms that I started creating in my brain to help me survive and not lose all hope had finally reached its peak evolution. And I had just become a hardened shell of no emotion. For a couple of years, even after cancer, I couldn't cry. I would feel sad, but the sadness would quickly turn into anger rather than tears. And after the need for that hardened mental state passed, like a couple years after chemo, is when everything all started coming back and the floodgates just opened in the worst possible way. The reality of what I had just been through, not the physical aspect of me battling cancer, but the mentality that I had to create to not be empathetic to others in order to build a hardened mental state to survive cancer, it literally broke me. And then everything started coming back all at once. It was a Friday and I was allowed to be treated as an outpatient for that week, and I was overjoyed. I was ecstatic. That was probably one of the first weeks I ever get to come out of the hospital after staying for a prolonged period of time. Now the deal was I would check into the hospital on Monday, Wednesday and Friday to receive chemotherapy treatment. And on Friday, the last day of the week, after I received my chemo, while I was receiving my chemo, I was so tired, exhausted, just frustrated and fed up. All I wanted to do was go home. There was a younger doctor who became close to me and my friend. And he came into my room to check on the chemo and he told me, he said, she's not really doing too good today. And to be honest with you, I heard him, but it didn't actually register because we all had our up days and our down days. So it was just like she just experiencing another down day. That is the way I treat it. He was explaining to me that fluid was gathering in her lungs at such a rapid rate, they couldn't take it out fast enough. And still it didn't register to me. When I was about to leave the hospital, we were walking down the corridor passing in front of her room. My mom asked me again, "You sure you don't want to go and say hi to your friend?" And I peeked in the room and saw her bed surrounded by all of our doctors with a tray of needles. I can't even express how long they were and how thick they were. A whole tray full of them, and they were literally taking the needle and puncturing it straight into the side of her chest to reach into her lungs and pull fluid out. I said I wasn't going in because I wanted to give her her privacy. But the truth is I was too afraid to face her in that state. I left the hospital and I went home as usual. Went home, talked to my family, friends, eat, laugh, watch TV, and went and get a good night rest. The next day, my mother and I were heading to my father's business place. And while we were heading up, my mother received a call on her phone. So because she was driving, she told me, answer the phone for her. When I answered the phone, it was my friend's grandmother. She asked me 3 times to talk to my mom. And I explained to her, I say, auntie, she driving. Tell me what's going on, and I'll let you know. And she hesitated. All 3 times that she asked and I told her that, she hesitated. And I didn't know why she was hesitating. I couldn't catch on. And when she told me, I realized why she didn't want to tell me. But I also understood why she couldn't afford to make that call a second time. My friend had passed away the day after I left the hospital without saying anything to her. It honestly didn't hit me until years later how much of a coward I was. And not because I was afraid of dying, because of how much I was afraid of losing someone I love. That feeling of being powerless. The feeling of telling yourself that if you could take their illness away and fight it yourself, whether you win or you die, you don't care as long as they don't have to go through that themselves. You just don't want that for them. It literally broke me into pieces. It hurt for a long, long time. And I still live with that pain every day, every single day. It put me in a position where feeling success felt more like guilt. It felt like I didn't deserve to succeed, because if I was given this chance when somebody else didn't get it, I couldn't accept that. And it caused me to lose friends. It caused me to push people away and break connections that I held dearly, because knowing how quick I could lose them, I developed a mentality where it was better to not be in their life, but not be a part of their current life, so that when they do go, it'll be easier on me. I literally committed myself to death while living, to save myself the pain of actually living. And honestly now, I am not ashamed to admit it. I was afraid, and not for myself, but for losing the people around me. That drove me to become overprotective to the point where I would hinder people from reaching their full potential, living their full lives, off of my fear of losing them. And when I felt like they didn't understand where I was coming from, my solution was to push them away and to cut them out of my life, so that when that time comes, the burden would be less on me. And I wouldn't have to worry, I wouldn't have to care that much. Now I could see how cowardly and selfish I was being. I learned that understanding nothing in life is permanent is the beauty of life itself. That is what changed my perception. The fact that just like I should have done for my best friend, the decision to be brave and cherish every moment with the people who love and care for you is a gift. But getting to share somebody's bad moments with them, or even their final moments, is the greatest gift that you could ever receive, not give. And when I understood that, is when my perception of life and death actually changed. I still feel shame every single day for not saying hi or spending 5 minutes with my friend on what would be her last day, not knowing it would be her last day. I feel guilty for giving up my one chance to tell her. Even when we were in school, what an amazing inspiration she was to everyone, including myself. To tell her how much she would light up her classroom every time she would walk into it, because everybody was happy to see her. How every time she would take my book bag off my back, take my books out and do my homework from the day before that I ignore, while I go outside to lime with my partners. How much that meant to me, and how much it meant to every single person she used to do it for in class, just because she didn't want to see people get in trouble. That's the kind of person she was. And I, through my own fear and selfishness, robbed myself the opportunity to tell her those things. Taking time for granted, thinking that when I come back Monday morning to be booked in, she's going to be on the hospital bed next to mine. Not knowing that Monday morning her bed will be empty and I would have chemo scheduled for the day of her surgery. Not even being able to say a final goodbye. I never had the opportunity to say goodbye to my friend because I was a coward and I was afraid when I should have been a man, when I should have just man up and do what I am supposed to. So this video is to let you know that you don't need to make these mistakes to learn from it. Learn from my mistakes. Take this as a lesson. Cherish life, cherish the moments, cherish the people that you have, and live every day like you're on chemo. Not like you're sick, not like you're confined to a bed, but like it could be your last and you don't even know. I don't know if you could hear the music in the background right now because there's a truck passing in the road, but that is actually a funeral going down the road to the cremation site. And this is just to show you how short life is. I decided to make this video this morning not knowing that was going to happen. So call the people that you love and tell them you love them, just to tell them. Spend more time with your parents while they are around, with your grandparents if they're still around, with your siblings, your cousins, your aunts, your uncles, the people who mean the world to you. Because we often take these people for granted in our lives because their position seems so concrete. We could always count on them. They always have our back no matter the issue. We end up abusing that privilege, not seeing it for what it is. A lot of people do have that. And we ourselves not going to have that forever. And it's only times like this that we understand how fragile life could be and how much the people we love actually mean to us. That is where the beauty in life lies. Knowing that it actually uncertain. You really don't care about your age, what day you're born, who's your parents, how much money you have, what position you're holding. It's common for us all, and that is actually the beauty of living. I hope this video reached the right person. I hope right now, if you feel or if you're thinking about somebody while watching this video, you could give them a call. It don't have to be a long call. It don't have to be 10-20 minutes to talk to them about their whole life story. Just call them to tell them that you're thinking about them and you love them. I know this was a kind of emotional video, but I hope you stay to the end and I hope you enjoy it. I hope you at least get something out of it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave a comment. Tell me your experience with that. Let me know if you lose somebody close to you, how it affected you, and how you were able to build the mentality to move on. It's Mongdal, and I'll see everybody in the next one. Later.